I'm Kevin Klein, City Councillor for Charleswood, Tuxedo, Westwood. Let's talk today about one of the fundamental issues at Winnipeg City Hall. Now, as opposed to just telling you what the issue is, I want to give you an example of why I think it's a fundamental issue. And then I want to tell you what I think we should be doing to rectify that. What would fix the problem, in my opinion. You'll have your own. And today's came from an appeal hearing that we had on property planning and development, a committee that I am a member of. The issue, fundamental issue, that was just reconfirmed today is we are not consistent in any of our decisions, both at council and within the public service. There is no consistency. Is there any wonder why people get upset at the City of Winnipeg? Well, we will either say A, or we could say D, or we could say B, or we could say F, or we could say G. It doesn't have any rhyme nor reason to the decisions that we make throughout the processes here. That is a fundamental issue. When you put rules in place, and you want all individuals to follow those rules, especially something as important as house building or development and infill, you have to make the rules clear. You have to make them concise. And you have to uphold the rules by having a penalty that matches the failure to follow those rules, right? So that everyone stays on the same page. We would have less complaints then. And any kind of change should always consider residential input. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that think that we should just push it through. I wonder if you would feel the same way if we were pushing something through that you didn't appreciate. Maybe change will go through. Maybe it won't. But you should still have the discussion. I mean, that's why one of the greatest things that we have in our democracy is that everyone gets an opinion. They have a right. So did you know that it's one of the fundamental freedoms in Canada under the Charter of Rights? You have the right to your own opinion. You are not supposed to get beat up for that or criticized for that. So in this decision, what had happened is that a person had filed to build a home. They had to go through what's called a plan approval process. And at the plan approval process, that's when you bring in the housing drawings, the design, what you're going to build. You need that to build the house anyways. You bring those in. The committee reviews them. They say, yep, that's great, and you move on. It's not that hard. In this case, those plans were altered. They weren't followed exactly. And one of the fundamental rules is that you must follow the approved plan. So you would think. Well, what we learned today is that, well, minor changes, really, we don't worry about that too much. What's a minor change? I asked that question. Nobody could answer that. What's a minor change? Well, I know. But what is it? Can you describe it to me? Can you paint me a picture of it? And if you can't, then we have a fundamental problem. That's consistent throughout the City of Winnipeg. The other problem is that we go through two different stages for this particular one. If you have a large lot and you want to subdivide it, it's happening. It happens. It got approved. But what happens is that in this case, you have to provide what the house is going to look like that you're going to build. It's part of the rules. However, we learned today that it's meaningless. You could draw a stick house or a gingerbread house. It doesn't matter. It's just there. Well, isn't that a problem? Isn't that why residents are mad at us? Because we had residents speak today at the appeal opposed to this, saying this is not what we were told was going to be built. And they had copies of that plan, only to be told that, well, yeah, those ones are meaningless. Sorry. Yeah, those are fun. That's just for fun. And in this case, we had residents complaining that it's bigger than it was supposed to be. The balcony is moved, the roof is changed. There are some big changes, in my opinion. How could these be seen as basic, small changes? Not a big deal. You change the roof, it's a pretty big deal. You move a balcony, seems like a pretty big deal. You cut down all the trees, that's a pretty big deal. This particular case, we didn't even give them a fine. 6 or 7 cases before that were heard at appeal, everyone was there because they were given a fine. In this case, somehow, they were just told to reapply with a new plan, and then you'll get your approval, and then everything will be fine. So in other words, go ahead, do whatever you want to do, and just reapply afterwards. Fundamental problem at the City of Winnipeg, because this is not a one-off. It's not. It is easier right now to break the rules and do what you want and pay a small fine, or maybe appeal it and not have to pay it, than to go through the process to have it changed. These are the fundamental problems that we have. How do you fix that? By having clear, concise rules, bylaws, and sticking to those. So we have to be consistent, because we owe that to our residents who we represent, so that they don't have to worry or think that we're doing it on purpose, or that we have some relationship with these people, or whatever that may be. They're allowed to say that. They pay our salary. We need to be consistent. We need to have clear, concise directions, rules, and penalties for those rules. It'll be no surprise to you, I voted opposed, saying that the person who built the house should have to rectify the situation, because that's what it says in the bylaw. That's what the rules say. If you don't build it as it's approved, then you have to take down what you built wrong and fix it. That's what the rules say. None of my council colleagues agreed with that. They agreed that it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. That's a fundamental problem we have at the City of Winnipeg. You want everything to be consistent. Imagine if you were a business and you sold, the same glass to customer A for $5, to customer B for $7, to customer C for $2, to customer D for $1, and there was no inconsistency. How long are you going to have that many customers? Consistency is important. If you have any thoughts or comments, give me a call. My number is 986-5232, or send an email, kevin@kevinklein.ca. Consistency, accountability is a fundamental issue that we have to address at City Hall, because we have none.